Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by a storyteller, traveler, and author of more than 30 books. Last time he visited, he talked about America's pop culture landmarks. This time, he's here to reminisce about places you could have visited in the past, but you can't do anymore in Lost Landmarks of Orange County. We welcome author Chris Epting.
Hey, good to hear you again, Sean. Thanks.
Welcome back, my friend. Let's go beyond the mic. You start your book with the question, quote, why do we feel a deep-rooted connection to these lost landmarks, unquote? How did these landmarks touch your soul, and why was it necessary to keep them alive?
You know, when I moved to Orange County, and again, whether you grew up in Orange County, California or not, a lot of people are familiar with the spirit of the what's called the OC today, whether it's because of Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm or whatever. There's something very evocative in terms of travel, I think, with Orange County. And I always felt, after living there 25 years, that it never really got the cultural credit that it was due. People go to LA and they always associate Los Angeles with everything. But in its own way, the 34 cities that comprise Orange County really, for me, came to represent a great cultural force. I mean, one of the local products is Steve Martin, who grew up in Garden Grove, California, part of Orange County. And I talked to him. You know, it's the stories in the book of a little nightclub that he really credits with helping to launch his stand-up career called the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach. Legendary music venue. And I have a whole chapter in the book about it. And he explained to me how right at the beginning of his stand-up career, he's there, he's a young guy, it's about 1971, and he got the idea mid-show to march all 300 people out of the club across the street, had them kneel down behind a row of bushes and scare the next couple that walked out of a restaurant built behind those bushes. And he said, and then he marched everyone back into the club. And he goes, that night, I got the sense that I could break rules, I could do things, and to me, that was a real reflection of Orange County. People like Walt Disney, Walter Knott, Knott's Berry Farm, of course, they back in the 30s and 40s and 50s really kind of created this spirit of anything goes. You can try anything once, you know, you can break rules, you can challenge conventions and do all of that. And that's what really motivated me to write the book, because I found so many stories like that. I mean, Jackson Browne told me a story, another one about the Golden Bear, about his buddy who was a dishwasher there in the 1960s, kind of a slacker, wasn't doing much, and a folk musician as well. And Jackson said, hey, you know what? Go up to L.A. A buddy of mine, Stephen Stills, just bombed an audition there for a TV show because his teeth weren't straight, but you have the same kind of fair-haired features they're looking for. And that's when Peter Tork went up and scored the role as Peter and the Monkees. You know, he was the dishwasher of the Golden Bear. So the more I learned about these kinds of stories, I thought, you know what, there's a deeper story here. No matter whether you're from the state or not, I think it involves so many people that you're familiar with that the stories are compelling.
Orange County has been home to oil, silicon, technology, entertainment, and agriculture. What caused Orange County to evolve, forcing it to reinvent itself over these last 100 years?
It's a great question. Orange County was founded in 1889. It's when it broke away from LA County. Now, there were no oranges grown here when they named itself that. That was really kind of just a promise to lure people down, to make them think there were oranges. When people came down, they realized, hey, you know what? The growing climate here is really good. Let's plant citrus trees, which they did, and all kinds of other things, strawberry fields, lima beans, chili peppers, and it became deeply agricultural. That's what really got it going at the turn of the century. And from there, the open space, the beautiful beaches really allowed for a lot of tourism opportunities. It's why you had the birth of places like Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, California Alligator Farm, Lion Country Safari, all kinds of really kind of crazy, off the wall, never before experienced attractions that brought people not just from Southern California, but from all over the world.
Which non-entertainment landmarks that was lost to time hit your heart the hardest?
The one that really struck me is there was a believe it or not, in a little town called Garden Grove, which is where Steve Martin was born and raised. There was a German POW camp during World War II, where thousands of German soldiers were flown over and put in this camp. And by day, the camp was run by a citrus company and by a packer. And by day, the POWs would pick oranges from the trees. That was their work detail. And after the war, hundreds of them returned to Orange County to raise their families. Of course, the experience had been so positive. I don't think there were many American soldiers returning to Stalag 17 after World War II. You know what I mean? But the experience in Orange County was so pleasant many of them actually came back, which I had no idea about, which really to me is a testament to the invitational, magical properties of Orange County.
Lost Landmarks of Orange County is the book. Chris Epting is the author, and Chris, you think you might be able to escape it, but no. Yep. It's time for the Rocking 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There's absolutely no pressure.
Yes, there is.
Last time we talked, we asked your least favorite. This time, your favorite Hitchcock film.
My favorite Hitchcock film is North by Northwest.
Which book took the shortest for you to write, and which one the longest?
The longest is the one we're talking about, Lost Landmarks of Orange County. It took me almost 3 years. The shortest book to write, I would say, was a book I wrote about the band Kiss.
What's your favorite photo that you haven't shown anyone not related to you?
That I've taken?
Yeah.
Was a picture speaking of Kiss, that I took of Gene Simmons backstage with a young man who was severely handicapped that Gene coached in a singing competition. And it's the two of them hugging. It was one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen. And no one's ever seen it. It was a private moment, but it spoke to the compassion and tenacity of Gene Simmons in helping people.
Best place to eat at Huntington Beach?
I would say the Sugar Shack on Main Street.
What keeps you balanced between life and work?
The hope of stories untold, things that people want to hear, but that don't know that exist yet.
How about the last baseball game you attended?
Anaheim Angels, end of last season.
Have you ever ridden a camel?
I've never. Yes, I did. At the Bronx Zoo, I did ride a camel, when I was a kid.
What's the best thing about your daughter, Claire, and son, Charlie?
Best thing about my daughter and son, I think they both share empathy toward people and compassion and caring, and they would both give you the shirt off their back if you needed it.
It's time for One Big Question with Chris Epting, author of the incredible book, Lost Landmarks of Orange County Beyond the Mic. As you tell stories of others following the writer's oath, I promise solemnly, 1, to write as often and as much as I can, to respect my writing self, and to nurture the writing of others. I accept these responsibilities and shall honor them always. There is one story of your life that's the most important to you. What is it?
I think when I was a kid, I had the benefit of studying under one of the most famous fiction writers in world history. It was John Cheever. And for years before he died, when I wrote him a letter when I was a kid, he lived near us. And I think that story, I've carried that story with me forever. It's actually coming out in a book that I wrote this fall. And that's for me the great untold story, because that's what gave me the ability to believe that I could do it. Watching a writer work day in, day out, gave me the faith and belief system that, yes, this is at least possible if you put the time in and dedicate yourself to it. So that's the one that I haven't really shared with anybody on any great level. And I've finally done that in this upcoming book, which maybe we'll talk about this fall if you'd like.
I'm talking to John Oates later this week. What's the one question you never asked him that you'll want to know?
Well, first you have to give him my best. I saw him a few weeks ago. He is my favorite person I've ever collaborated with on anything, and one of my favorite people on the planet. I would ask, well, that's a good question, because I've asked him so many millions of things over the years. I would ask him the favorite concert he's ever seen, not Hall & Oates, or not related to himself, solo or with Hall & Oates. The best show he's ever seen as a fan.
John Oates is his favorite person on earth. His kids share empathy like no other. He rode a camel at the Bronx Zoo. He wants you to read Lost Landmarks of Orange County. Chris, where can people find you online?
I have a website, which is simply chrisepting.com. And the books are all on Amazon, of course. I'm easy to look up. There's a whole mess of things there to learn about. And it's pretty simple. And I'm on Twitter, too, just at Chris Epting. I don't tweet a lot, but Instagram, all the usual places, my name will pop up.
Our friend Chris Epting, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you, brother. Say hi to John. Have a great chat with him.
And that, my friends, is a Beyond the Mic shortcut. If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.